so I'm reviewing my week, planning my week out this morning, and I'm looking around and checking my coaching calendar. And I have one, two, three. Let me see who's on the call. I have one. There's at least a handful of you that I do not have on my coaching calendar this week. What's up with that, y'all? Oh, Joanne, you brought your grandchild. All right.
Yes, I'm babysitting, but I'll make an appointment.
Okay, please do. Yeah, if you want to, I've got actually slots open this afternoon that I can answer your question. All right, and we can talk about foreclosures. Does anybody else have an interest in learning about how to handle foreclosures and clients that are interested in foreclosures?
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
Someone
Okay.
actually just asked me about foreclosure recently and asked, could I find them a property? But I don't know where to start, to be honest. So yeah.
You got it. All right, that'll probably be Thursday's topic, okay?
Okay.
For foundations. All right. But if you have an immediate need in the meantime, by all means, just come grab me and we'll chat at some point. All right. Okay, so this today is essentially going to be part 3. And I'm going to go back and first off, does everybody know how to access parts 1 and 2 if you were to need to refer back to them? Everybody knows the Century 21 Connect training library YouTube channel has all of that information available. And if you ever need to access it, if you're not one that subscribes to YouTube channels and takes the notifications and things like that, you can always look in my signature block. Right at the bottom of my signature block, there's a direct link to YouTube training library that you can go to. So all you got to do is pull up an old email that you probably got from me, which with the exception of maybe Leah, may not have it, but you can find it. Century 21 Connect training library is there, and you can access part 1 and part 2. I have to go back and go back into them and make sure we're relabeling them, because when Rob puts them in, they might not be labeled correctly, but we'll get them there. Okay. So you can always go back and look at the logic process, because we basically followed one property through the analytical aspect of picking comps, putting a CMA together, determining intellectually if it's listed at the right price or not. And now today, the last part of doing that is in my mind, I separate a market analysis from the CMA that I do within FMLS to figure out in my own brain if it's the right price or not. And then there's a CMA that is the tool in which I present it to somebody else. Okay. And so one is to determine the numbers and what they look like. And 2 is the second part of that is how to present it in a way that makes sense to a client. Okay, and I'm going to show you the way that the way and the system in which I found to be the most advantageous. This is something that is likely to change when and if we move to not if, but when we move to Moxie, because Moxie is going to give you a great presentation tool. But in the interim, Cloud CMA within FMLS is a very valuable tool. It's good. Is it perfect? No. Is it better than what 95% of other agents are doing? Yes. Okay. So does anybody have any questions before we get rolling with it? Do I need to review the market or the anything of the analytics of where we started from last time? Okay.
Yes, you can for me, please.
Okay, hang on a second. All right, I lost you guys. There you are. Okay, I am going to share my screen. We're going to share this screen. Okay, is everybody looking at Matrix? Okay, so the last time the property that we looked at was this property. 1960 O'Shea Lane, Marietta, Georgia. This is an active listing by one of our agents, and it was one of you on the call hosted an open house at this property. So just for the sake of grins and giggles, we'll just kind of review a couple of the details. This is a 4-bedroom, 3-bath house listed 515. It was built in 1979. It is in Marietta. Let me go to the active listing. Okay, here's the listing details. And it is, since this time, it had actually gone under contract. Okay, so we can see that it was listed at 515, 4 bedrooms, 3 baths, 2,300 square feet, built in 1979 on a quarter of an acre. Okay, let's just, for the sake of review, look at the pictures. Nicely updated, brand new front doors, looks like brand new windows, koi pond, in-ground liner type swimming pool in the back. We'll just kind of just review, for the sake of argument, all of the details of the property. When we did our CMA and we went through the analytics last week, the backyard in this property is what makes it far superior, in my opinion, to the other closest comparables that we had. Simply because it's got all this land, all this area back here. It's got multiple, you got the pool area here, you got the deck area here, you got the underdeck area over on this side, you've got a balcony over here with stairways going down, you've got an entire shed in this area. The other comparables just didn't have this much space back here. Okay, is everybody good so far? We went through this entire exercise, and when we did, we came up with this list of comparables. Okay, and again, you can go back through and talk, and we can go through exactly why we selected each one of these. But now where we are picking up is we want to take this list of MLS numbers and we want to create a presentation to our client to show them exactly what they can, what comparables that we use to help determine the correct pricing for this particular home. Okay, so in order to do that, I'm going to have to backtrack just a little bit. Bear with me for just a second, and we are going to go back and we're just going to go to the dashboard. I have the list of those properties there. And what I did is I just copied these MLS numbers, but they need commas in them. Does everybody know you can do this?
New to me.
Okay, so now I have duplicated that exact list of properties. Okay, so now these are all of the comps that we had picked. We can go back through, we can review them, we can see each and every home, what the status is, what it changed to. And for the sake of argument, this was the property that was by far our closest comparable. And just for the sake of review, let's take a look at it. This one, to be honest with you, is a little bit superior on the interior. This kitchen remodel and opening everything up is fabulous. They did a great job on this. And notice there is the pool in the back, which makes it probably even more so a closer comparable. But when we get to the backyard, you'll see the difference one you see a basement that's needs some updating. But then you've also got the pool, okay? And notice no major decking, no underdecking area, no barbecue area. You know, yes, it does have a pool. Does it have all the other things? No, not really. Okay. So now we have this list of homes. We want to create a presentation, a market presentation. So you check all of the homes. You check, you know, the one box that checks them all. And then everybody knows down here is your cloud CMA. You go to your cloud CMA and it is going to pull up this screen. Okay. And this is where you're going to go through and you're going to go through this process. Once you've done this a time or two, it is extremely simple, but you're going to call this, you know, this is, say this is for Joe, SCH, Joe Schmo CMA. All right. Your client is named Joe Schmo. And this is the name that's going to be assigned to it, and you'll have it from here up. Notice that all of the MLS numbers that we had already picked because we checked these boxes, they're automatically going to appear here. All right. Now we want to put in our subject property. Everybody remember what our subject property? I don't remember. Our subject property is 1960 O'Shea Lane in Marietta. And guess what? It already found it. And normally if it finds it, it usually puts the tax information that is available from within Matrix in there. But in this case, it doesn't have it. So here's what we're going to do. It's 4 bedrooms, 3 baths, built in 1979. Four bedrooms, 3 baths. What was the square footage? 2308. Residential, and this is a single family residence. Okay, so you put your basic information in here. If you had a picture of the front of the house, you could actually load it right here. And then you'll have a nice visual. And then you do the fetch listings. And now this pulls up, and now you have all of the homes mapped out in a nice 3D type map. Okay. And you see all of your custom homes, all of the list of the homes right here. This puts them in an order, selecting your sorting option. I'm kind of old school. I want to see them based off of the status that they are. And I want them to appear with the actives first, then closed and withdrawals and expireds. Okay. Now, everybody see the little subject property up here? If you had a price in mind that you thought that you wanted to commit to, you can actually put in here what your suggested price would be based off of your market analysis. Let's just say, for the sake of argument, after doing our analysis, we thought that the 515 that this property was listed for is a little bit high, and we thought it was 505. Let's just say we could do 505. Oops, sorry, 000. Okay. Let's just see what this spits out for us. That when we go to the next screen. Now, here's where you can pick any number of different templates that you've set out. This one is, let's do this as a buyer's CMA. And now we're going to publish this report. So now you have the Joe Schmo CMA that is getting published as we speak. You can either view this as a PDF or you can view it live if you want to do a digital presentation to your client. So say you sit down with your buyer and you're doing a Zoom or whatever, and you say, okay, let's look at the comps. Here's the best way to do this. Is now you're creating a cloud CMA and you've got pages in here that you can then walk through. And now you've got a very nice digital presentation that you can go through with your client. And you can customize this 100%. Every one of these, you can pick slides that you want to keep and you can take slides away that you don't want. All right. Is this news to anybody? Is this like an aha, this is exactly what I was looking for? A way to present information? So let's look through and let's start the presentation. So this is an agent resume. I don't use this particular template very often, so I haven't filled all of this stuff out. This is one of the pages that I typically omit from my presentations. But you've got a little page about our company. Another, again, something that I'm not really typically using on a routine basis. A little blurb about what is a CMA, how it is created, how accurate are CMAs. The smartest way to sell a home. This is one you would get rid of. This is somebody's canned thing. This is the meat and potatoes of the market analysis and the way that you want to present the comps. Okay, as opposed to printing out a matrix one-page report that is all kinds of tiny little words on a page that you and I know how to read, but the layperson doesn't know how to read. This puts everything into a format that they can look at, that they can compare, and they can see pictures. People are visual. Okay. So now you're showing them a full screen that has, and if you scroll over, you can see all 7 of the comparable properties that we picked. Okay, and you can compare them side by side with this particular subject. So you can go through and you can go, okay, well, this first one is almost the exact same size. It's only 300 square foot larger. This one's a little bit bigger. It's 3,200 square feet. And you can just kind of look down the line and compare apples to apples through this. But now if you wanted to go into greater detail, so we can go in and look at 3290 Normandy Circle. And now you can see this is an active that's been on the market for 8 days and it's only listed at 505. And then if you wanted to look at the pictures in greater detail, boom, you can now scroll through pictures and show your client the visuals of what a house that's 505 looks like. Okay. And then you simply go back and you can go to the next home or back to the original, or you can go back to your main screen from here. Okay. And then you can simply just walk through each one of these properties and you can look at and explain the differences. And if I was going through this one with the client, I would say this is probably our closest comparable, simply based off of the condition and the fact that this one has a pool similar to ours. Sorry, I'm trying to remember how to, and I've locked up the screen. Here we go. And this one closed at 480 after being listed at 475. Okay, anybody got any questions on anything so far or any feedback on this?
Jay, is it automatically saved once you generate it here? So you're preparing it beforehand?
Yep.
So you can, okay.
You're preparing it beforehand and it automatically saves, and I'll show you how to re-access it at some point.
Okay.
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 So you can go through and you can show them each one of the comps, and you can have kind of your script already planned out of, all right, Here's one that was expired after 119 days. It's 4 bedrooms, 3 baths. It's only 1,900 square feet, so it's even smaller than our comparable home. And oh, by the way, this one doesn't have a swimming pool. And you can say, gee, I wonder why it didn't sell. Well, 550 for something that, you know, a superior home is listed at 515. We know why it didn't sell. It was overpriced. Okay. So now you can go through each one of these comparables and use this menu to go back and forth. And I strongly suggest that you practice this every now and then, because navigating through these, you know, you want to go back to the comparables, you want to go to the next house. And this, the bar down here in the bottom right corner is the one that takes you through each one of the houses.
Jay, I have a question for you.
Yep, go ahead.
If you do this and the homes are all in the same neighborhood, but they're significantly larger and smaller than the subject property, wouldn't you make adjustments to start with before you show this to your client?
It's a
Square footage adjustments?
Great question, and you can. So, for example, I was actually, your question was, I literally was planning on the next thing I was going to talk to you about was this little add adjustment right here. So let's say, for example, let's say we're talking about, I don't know, this particular home, and the fact that this one is listed at 505 but doesn't have a pool, and you wanted to add an adjustment to this, you certainly can. You can come in here and you can say pool, and then you can put, I don't know, maybe that's because it's not brand new, maybe it's a $15,000 adjustment for the pool. And did it do it? Adjustment up 3%. So it didn't change the total up here. I thought it did. Maybe I'm missing something, folks.
It usually,
talking
it's
about-
the
Oh,
second
right here,
line
it's
item.
adjusted. I see. It's the adjusted price right here that it added it to. So 520. I was looking for it up here. Forgive me. Is that what you were going to say, Manuela, or?
Yes, I was going to say that, but then also, how do you adjust for square footage? Do you take, like, if a home is 10% larger, do you take 10% away from the comp? How do you deal with square footage?
So I'm going to be very honest with you. I am not an appraiser, nor are you. So I tend to shy away from making these adjustments. I tend to try my very hardest to pick comparables that don't require adjustments. Or if I do put an adjustment, I kind of leave it subjective instead of trying to quantify it with a number. Okay, and that's just my philosophy. I tend to be a little bit more vague in the generalities, because the last thing you want to do is have somebody pin you down and go, wait a minute, you only gave me $15,000 adjustment for that pool. It's not your job to make those adjustments. It's your job to pick comparables that are easier, that are true comparables. Does that make sense? But if I was to be forced for something like a square footage adjustment, all right. So here's where I might think. At the end of this, there are some average price per square foot calculations, which tells you of all the comparables that you put in here, the average was $206 per square foot. Okay, of all of those. So theoretically, you could come back into each one of the comparables and say, for example, you know, this one is 22,000 square foot, and the next one that we were looking at, let me go back, and this one is only 1,972 square feet, you could make an adjustment there and add that based off of the difference in the square footage times $206 per square foot. You could do the adjustment here if you wanted to. Does that make sense?
So you don't use the price of the home that it sold for or is on the market for. You use the average square foot of all the comps.
Yes, because the average of the comps are what everything is being gauged as a barometer off of. So I would use the average of the comps. Okay.
And you got to that how again?
So if you wanted to, you would use this 1,972 square feet, 2,300 square feet, 2,000 square feet. So each one of these is slightly different in terms of the square footage. I would go towards the end over here and look at, of the comps, the average dollar per square foot was $206 per square foot. So my calculation would be based off of what's the difference between 1,972 and 2,300 square feet, and multiply that times $206 per square foot. And that would be what I would adjust it for. Did I just blow anybody's mind? Is it too confusing?
I got it. Thanks.
Simone, you okay?
That was
She's
funny.
grinning.
I think I got it. I just think I just need to go back and listen in again. But
Okay.
yeah.
I'm going to be honest with you. Me personally, I choose to not make adjustments on my comparables.
Okay.
I look at everything as a whole. I don't try to make the adjustments on them per se, and I try to do a better job on picking the actual comparables that don't need to be adjusted. Okay. So based off of that, after the comps, then there's a couple of extra pages, like here's the metrics for the active listings versus the closed versus the withdrawals and the expireds. So you can, theoretically draw some conclusions based off of these, that on average it only took 18 days on the market for all of those that sold to go under contract, and they went home under contract pretty quickly. Again, here's our $206 per square foot pricing that those averaged for. Here you can theoretically see a correlation between the average price per square foot, and you see this line that shows a correlation between the size of the home and this price of the home. This metric tells you time to sell. On average, it was, some of them were really long, but most of them were very short periods of time. It was only this one that expired that was 119 days. But on average, only 18 days, and they sold for 96% of the list price. Okay. Love this tool for online valuations. What this system does is it goes through and it looks at the Zillow's estimates for each one of these homes, and it compares that Zillow's estimate with the reality of what it actually sold for. So this is a great way to shoot down anybody's argument that is saying my Zillow's estimate is $20,000 higher than your comparable estimate that your CMA came up with. And this is a great way to show that, is that on average it was 10% higher. Based off of that, on average it was $54,000 higher than what it should have been. Everybody like this one? This is a great tool.
I'm afraid I did not get that. On average, it was 10% higher. What was 10% higher?
Yep, the Zillow's estimate was 10% higher than what it actually sold for. So Zillow said that their estimate was, so here you go, this one, 3290 Normandy Circle. It listed on January 14th. The list price was 505. This estimate was 505. Guess what? Anytime that's an active listing, they automatically do that. Let's just do 3029 Holly Mill Road in Marietta. It listed on August 6th. It sold for 480, but the Zillow's estimate was $530,000. So we've all been saying all along, we all know, and our standard script is estimates tend to be overly inflated. Well, here you go. In this case, it was 10% over. In this case, it was 10%, 9%, 10%. All of these Zillow's estimates tend to be overly inflated. And right here is the actual proof. Okay. Now, remember at the beginning, this last page is the suggested list price. This would be if you were listing it. Remember when we filled out that number at the beginning of the presentation? There's that number. Okay. You may or may not want to commit to that number. You may not want to put it in writing. You can always just eliminate this page from the entire presentation if you would like to. Okay. And then the next part of the presentation is your marketing action plan. You can put this in here. You can leave this off. You can show where the distribution of, if somebody's talking to you about, well, commission, this is where you can have a conversation with them about that entire commission doesn't go into my pocket. I will share this with a buyer's agent. I will share this, the brokers get a piece, the tax man gets a piece. This is a nice conversation to have about those people that might think the entire 3% commission goes into your pocket. Love this slide, intelligent pricing. This is the pricing pyramid. You want to price your home as close as humanly possible to the market value, which is defined as what is somebody willing to pay for your house. And this also talks about why you want to get the pricing right at first, because you get in the first 2 to 3 weeks is when you get the most eyeballs looking at this property when the listing goes live. A lot of people think, well, I'll just go real high and then I can always adjust the price down lower. Well, if you're adjusting the price 6 weeks into the listing, guess what? You're never going to get the same amount of eyeballs as you would in the first 2 weeks. So that's why it's important to go into the pricing, go into the listing at the right price, not overly inflated. Any questions on this one? And then if you had your client testimonials page, you could load that there. I tend to not do this because I'm doing this already in the cloud or in the Toolkit CMA. I've got all my reviews from Zillow and everything in there. And then it brings you back to the nice, pretty presentation page. Okay. So this is the presentation mode. Let me show you how you get to this again. So let's go back into, I'm going to completely go out of this. You're in your matrix. You could go to your dashboard, and right here under external links is your cloud CMA. So I did all of the work that we talked about here in the office, and now I'm coming to the client's home. I turn my hotspot on, I log in, I go to my matrix, and right here is my Joe Schmo CMA that we created back at the office. And I have two options. I can either view it live, or I can view a PDF. A PDF might not be a bad idea to send to them ahead of time, or print it out if you're worried about whether or not you got internet connectivity in their house. But typically then you can either view it live, and we're right back to where we came from, or you can view a PDF of that exact presentation, and this is what it looks like.
How do you delete those pages that you were talking about?
Oh, well, good. I'm glad to hear you ask that question. Thank you, because I missed that. So I'm going to get back in here. So say, for example, once you got this done, you realize, you know what, I want to take that page out. Simply come here to edit. And now we're going to go through and see how we can walk through the menu bar at the top, listings. I'm not going to change the listings, but I want to customize the presentation of this. Here you can see this is what your CMA report looks like, and these are every one of the pages that goes into it. So say, for example, the title page, this is what it looks like. Map of all listings, summary, online. Say, for example, I didn't want that sold, the suggested list price. We wanted to take that out. This is what it looks like. Remember this from the page? I don't want to use that, so I simply come over here and exit out, and now it's no longer in the menu. Okay? There are many other pages that you could add back in. So say, for example, closing, marketing action plan. So some of these pages you could add in, you can take them away. You can, here's some guidance chapters, selling your home in a tough market, negotiating with buyers. There's some great screens in here that you might want to include or exclude. But this is how you do it. Does that answer your question, Julia? Okay. And
I have
I've
a
gone.
question.
Yep, go ahead.
Real quick, because these are the pages for the PDF, but when you go live, the little tiles that were up there, you said you can edit those. How do you edit those? Because it's not the same as these pages.
It
necessarily, right?
actually should be. That's one thing that I'll be honest with you is a one of the glitches that I've known about this is the template that you use here changes, and it's different for the PDF version versus the live version. And so sometimes you just gotta, if it's a screen that you don't want to use when you're doing it live, just zip right through it. Say, I'm not gonna belabor this point for you. Okay. What questions do y'all have? No questions? All right. So was this helpful? Is this a great tool? Is this a tool that you guys can use? I want to see you doing it. All right. Seriously, if you walk into whether it be a listing presentation or a buyer with this kind of preparation, you are going to impress your clients, because most agents are just going in with nothing in their hands, or if they're going into an appointment, they may have the printouts of the FMLS one sheet, which is 10,000 words on a page and a couple of pictures. That doesn't really help. This raises your professionalism level tenfold and can earn you business because you're organized, you're thoughtful, you're considerate, you've done the analytics, and you can present it in a way that makes sense. Okay. All right, everybody. Thank you for the extra time. I hope it was helpful. And have a great week. Don't forget coaching sessions. Get on my schedule, Rob's schedule. And don't forget 8:30 Power Talks every morning and 9 o'clock practice sessions right here in the office with Mike. All right. Thank y'all. Have a great week.
Thank you.